Every photographer needs this lens. Do they fall? I was working at an Etsy event the other day, over the weekend, and this is the only thing I bought. It's a tiny little sticker, but I just really loved it. It's by This Is John Turner. So check him out on Instagram at This Is John Turner. I've never been one to put stickers on my laptop, but at the moment it's rocking these ugly Velcro patches. So I thought maybe I'd add this guy to it. Where's he gonna go? I think he goes at the bottom. He's just like chilling in the corner. As you may have noticed from the recent trend in the things I'm talking about in my videos, I'm very much trying to be more minimal. And I wanted to get this lens, and then I wanted to come on here and just say something like, you really, really don't need this lens. And I mean, I've not flipped completely the other way, but I forgot how much I really loved 70 to 200s. I've not really been using them much recently. I used to use them for weddings. Even back then though, I was renting them and having to play about with it, taking some shots around Manchester, taking some portraits, using it for some food stuff, some video stuff. I really crammed a lot in to my rental period. I really enjoyed this lens. There's a reason why this is such a popular lens. Across brands, the 70 to 200 is uniformly great. A couple of things I want to say about these though before you think about buying one. If it's a big investment to buy but you can rent it, I think it's just a no-brainer. For something like this, you're spending £25 to £45 to rent it. If you rent it over a weekend, for a lot of places, especially somewhere like Wex, you will only pay for one day and you'll get it for a couple of days. You'll get it over the weekend, take it back on a Monday, you've got time to play with it. I think there's a couple of things you need to understand about a lens like this. Unless you're shooting sports, wildlife, events, weddings, you don't necessarily need that reach. If you're shooting something where you can move closer to it, you don't necessarily need a telephoto lens. So product photography, portraits, you can shoot portraits on 24mm. Look at Mango Street. Mango Street are incredible portrait photographers, and a lot of what they do is on 24mm. Peter McKinnon, similar thing. So you should get this lens if you want to blur out the background. Yes, having the f2.81 is great, and it will definitely give you amazing blurriness in your background. I'm not saying the word, can't say it. At 200mm, the f4 version is also going to throw out that background really nicely. Maybe save yourself 1,500 quid, 1,000 quid, and go for the cheaper one. You should get this lens because 2.8 is a low light animal. Well, yeah, 2.8 is a good, it's a good wide aperture that's going to get you a bit more light. What you've got to remember is that f2.8 is only a stop more light than f4. Think about whether you really need that. If you want to save the money and you've got a camera that's like the 2017, 2018 model, you probably can just bump the ISO up a little bit, deal with a bit more noise. You're gonna save money. Again, if you need to save that money, if you can't afford the 2.8, it's fine. Drop down, bump the ISO up, you'll probably be okay. I think one thing that people forget actually is how dark events like weddings are. Even the events that I was shooting this weekend, one was basically pitch black, but the other one, the Etsy one, that seemed like a nice bright haul. But for the whole time I was pretty much at ISO 800, ISO, whichever, and shooting wide open on this lens just to get a usable shutter speed, which even with the IS still needs to be like over 100 when you're shooting at 200. The IS is good, but it's not magic. So get it because it's a zoom. Well, yeah, maybe, but what if you can just move around instead of zooming? Then you could get a prime. A lot cheaper, potentially faster autofocus, things like that, and you can just move around. It's just something to think about. Do do you need to be able to zoom? Maybe you shouldn't get this lens actually. Maybe you should go for a prime because the image quality is better. Well, actually, there's an interesting thing here. The 70 to 200mm range is actually the easiest optical range to produce. For whatever reason, it's much easier to build a lens in the 70 to 200 range than it is to build a wide angle or to build like a super telephoto. You don't have to do as much to compensate for things like distortion and diffraction. So actually, there's a good argument that this lens will have just as good image quality as, say, a prime 135 or a 85mm or maybe like a 200mm. There's reasons not to buy it, there's reasons to buy it. What are the reasons I like it? That focal length does some pretty magical stuff. I really, really love shooting wide. I love my 16 to 35. I think that focal length is just, I don't know, it just suits me. 70 to 200 is a really good example of controlling the background. And I don't mean how blurry it is, I mean what it actually looks like. Probably easy to show you. So you leave the house with your wide angle lens, you want to take some photos, 16mm, you get this. Great, whatever. But at 200, you get this. Completely different, but from the exact same spot. 16mm, 200. Same spot, just a different focal length. So technically when you're shooting with the 16 you could crop in and you kind of get the same image, same field of view, but obviously you're massively cropped in. What you can't do is walk to a point where the 16 is going to look like the 200. These shots were taken 650 meters away from that building. To get that building in the background to fill the same portion of the frame as the 200, you have to be about 100 meters away from it. And look at the difference. Where's that building gone that's in the background? This is what I mean by controlling the background, changing the compression of the image. It's this control that the 70 to 200 gives you that is the reason why I would own one. All that being said though, this lens wouldn't end up in my minimalist camera kit. If I was gonna have a kit that just had two lenses and one body, it would be a full frame body with a 16 to 35 and either 135mm f2, which is a beautiful portrait lens, really, really great for interviews, as long as you can get back far enough. Or, and this one probably makes more sense for me because I'm shooting products, I'm shooting small stuff sometimes, 100mm macro or a 90mm macro, depending on which brand you go with. Those two really would suit for most of the things that I do, almost everything. And in the spirit of being a minimalist, I just rent the other stuff when I needed it, just because I don't want all this gear clogging up my life, making things more difficult. If Peter McKinnon can do it for coffee, I can do it for whiskey, right? Let's get some B-roll. So I've been getting some really good comments recently. I'm gonna bring them into the video. Well edited video, you can start recording directly from photo mode. When pressing the record button on top of the camera, you will record with the settings you have assigned on custom video profile 3, C3. Once you stop recording, it'll go back to photo mode. That was a super handy comment. I've not actually had a chance to try it. I'm gonna order the camera today, this afternoon. So that's handy to know. Paul, nice video. Nice video, man. I like your style. Just go with the EOS R. I own one and loving it more and more every day. North Rider, thanks for your usual sensible and useful streams. Biggest thing, I really don't care what other people think, it works for me. A great review. Great advice regarding renting first. Let us know if you buy it. I will do. It might happen today. CWC Technologies, I had the GH5 and the Sony a7 III, sold them after getting the Canon EOS R. Love it for shooting pics and video for my channel. I just did a long video with it and the lens if you're interested. Good luck on which one you pick. I love all cameras, so it's always fun messing with everything. It is actually, I'm coming around to it. Didn't used to be a gear guy, but it's quite fun actually, as long as you don't have to buy it. Anthony Bryan, I used to play the slot machines at the casino but gave up because they only had one card slot to put my money in. One coin slot, not card slot. Now I go to big casino brand next door and put money in dual coin slot machines. No different, just lose more money. Who gives a shit? Yeah, it would be helpful. It'd be helpful if a card corrupts, but it doesn't mean it's not a pro camera. Yes. DIY fix it. I was nearly triggered by this one because I was like, what are you saying? And then I realised it was a positive comment. Another photographer that knows better. Haha. Well done. I'm truly enjoying mine more and more with every shoot. Stuart Wood, finally, someone who says it like it is. Well done. Cheers, Stuart. Photo Me Ike. For the record, my favourite wedding photographer, Sam Hurd, just switched from his Nikon Pro Gear D5, D850, D750, etc. to the Canon EOS R. Crazy times. One of these days, I plan on renting the EOS R with the 28-70 f2 and doing a shoot with it, maybe a wedding for YouTube. Why? Just cause. Lol. Good stuff. I checked out that wedding photographer. What's it? Sam Hurd. Really good stuff. So good. Right, that's it from me. See you later, guys.